Hi, it's Angel by the Ocean here, checking in with you, seeing how everyone's doing out there in crazy world land. Yeah, it's not even funny, really. I mean, you have to laugh, but there's not too much that's funny about it. It's pretty off the rails right now, and I don't know about you all, but I'm just trying to do the best I can and remain positive, and that's where faith definitely comes in. Thank God. I have my faith and my belief in God, and that gets me through every day because it is wild. Not only is it just like, I don't even know, let's see, how do we explain it? Uncertain. People are just so uncertain, and I don't know if you're finding this, but I'm finding that people just get angry really fast, like quick to anger, get pissed off really fast, in traffic. Now, I'm not one to provoke in traffic, but I'm living here down in Florida, and if you know anything about driving in Florida, you know there's a lot of older people on the road, but then there's another group of like young people driving muscle cars. And this is kind of a new thing to me because I just moved back, and I didn't realize how many of these young people are driving these muscle cars now. It's like all over the place. And they drive them really fast, and they like race each other on the road and stuff. And then you have, grandma who's like 80 and probably shouldn't be driving anymore, or maybe, not driving around 18-year-olds with muscle cars. But you see some crazy near misses, passing on the left, passing on the right, passing in the median. It's nuts. But yeah, so it's a crazy time. There's so much going on. There's behind the scenes, behind all this chaos and fear, and they love to, of course, stir up the fear and chaos. If you watch the news, which I try not to, but it's all, fear-based, and try to get people all pumped up, freaked out, mad at each other. We're all humans. We're all from the same God. It's like sparks from the same light. I don't understand why everyone wants to be at each other's throats, and this party and that party. It's like, divided we fall. Remember that? United we stand, divided we fall. So there's a lot of falling down happening, obviously. But I had said that I wanted to come on here and talk to you about spiritual awakening, because there are a lot of people waking up right now, and there's not a whole lot of information. There's more now than there's ever been. But sorry if you can hear the guy outside with his weed whacker. There's also a lot of weed whacking and lawn mowing going on down here, as I'm finding out, because the lawn needs to be mowed like once a week at least. It's crazy. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. We're not going to get into that right now. But if you do hear the guy with the weed whacker, I apologize. He's just doing his job. But back to the spiritual awakening. So, I woke up going on 3.5 years now. Time goes so fast. It was March of 2022, and I had no idea what was going on. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I did have a spiritual background as far as I believe in God, and I made my first Holy Communion, and I had some strange things happen here and there growing up. Like, I knew there was something else. I felt different. I always felt a little different. Probably a lot of people would say, yeah, you are a little different. But I always felt that there was, something more to all this. I always questioned. I can remember one of my first conversations that I remember having with my dad. I must have been like 4, because we were still living in Massachusetts. I'm originally from Massachusetts. And we moved when I was in kindergarten. So I went half my kindergarten in Lowell, Mass. And the other half, we moved to Florida. And I was in Northport, Florida, church kindergarten. But I remember before we left, so I was like 4 or 5, and I just remember looking at the moon with my dad and just being like, wow, we're on a ball. We're sitting on a ball, and there's a ball out there, and there's endless space around us, and there's a bunch of other things. And I was just like, wow, always blown away by it. Just amazing. So I knew there was something else, and I had some things happen, like at that house in Lowell, actually. I remember waking up one morning, and I have had a shelf in my room with all these dolls on it, and all the dolls were moving. Yeah, so that was the first weird thing I can remember. They were just, just kind of moving their arms and turning towards each other, and, some people probably like, well, you've been crazy for a long time. But no, I mean, it was like something. I have no idea. I mean, obviously there's some deep spiritual connections there, but for whatever reason, I saw them moving, and I was just like, wow, I didn't even really think much of it. I don't know if I think I told my mom. My mom was probably like, okay. All right, sure they were. Yeah, what did they say? Little kids have big imaginations, and I'm sure she was like, oh, that's good, she's creative. And I'm a lefty, so, I've always been, a little different. Anyway, so that was that happened, and I always just kind of knew something was a little different. And then the other really strange thing that happened to me that stands out is when I was in high school. We were living in New Hampshire at that time, and it was a house that was built on old farmland, and the house that had been there prior had burnt down, and so they bought the farmland, obviously the construction company, and they built a whole subdivision in there, and ours was on the top of the hill. And I had come home late, which was not unusual back then. So I came home late, and it was very dark. It's out in rural New Hampshire road, country farm road, no street lights or anything, and even down in the neighborhood behind us, there's like no street lights, very dark, really dark. And it's not far from where that very famous sighting was of, what was that couple? I actually did a report on them in high school. The couple that lived in, I think it was Epping, New Hampshire. I can't remember, but not far, actually, from where we were living. That couple that, I think it was in the 50s. It was a famous abduction. It was a white woman and her husband, who was actually African American, and supposedly they got abducted, and it was a big story. But anyway, just a little sidebar. There were a lot of weird sightings out there because it was so dark, and you could see so much at night. But anyway, I had come home late, and it was probably 2 a.m, and I came up the driveway, drove myself home from a friend's party, and I had actually fallen asleep on my friend's couch and woke up in a panic because I still had curfew. I was I don't know, freshman, sophomore, and I was supposed to be home by midnight, which Yeah. So I usually did get home on time, but that night I fell asleep on the couch, and but I was fine. You know, like we did party there at my friend's house, and you know there was drinking that went on, but I had actually fallen asleep and woke up, so I was completely sober. And I drove home, and I came up our driveway, and like I said, our house is on a hill. So when you pull up the driveway, it curves around and it faces the garage door. But like down to the side of the driveway, there's a little bit of a hill. Not a big hill, just a little hill. But, you know, a little hill, dark. And I get out of my car, and I see this tall, glowing form. Like, really tall. I mean, it looked like at least 12 feet high. It was tall and thin, because even down the hill, it was tall. And it was kind of in the shape of a person, but you couldn't see through it. It looked like fire. It looked like the consistency of fire. In the shape of a person, tall, thin, and I just didn't know what to do. I just, you know, I don't know, a lot of you people who listen to these things probably have seen things, so you get what I'm saying. You can't believe what you're seeing. You're just like, am I seeing that? And I just sort of froze for a few minutes, and it didn't move. It was just down the bottom of the hill, and then I just ran into the house. When I finally like got my wits about me, I ran into the house and went to the window, to the kitchen window, to look down and see if I could see it. And I couldn't see, but it was also the way the window was faced is kind of hard to see the exact same spot. But I'm looking, and my mom's up. And I'm like, oh, you know, she's gonna be mad. She's just mad that I'm late. And she was actually up because she said 15 minutes prior to me coming home, she heard something outside. She heard like what she thought was me hitting the garage door, like a bang. And she was nervous, and then I didn't come in, so she was like, oh, I guess I heard something else. I don't know, you know. But really weird that she heard something that woke her up. And then I come home and I see this thing outside. Well, I had no idea what it was at the time. I even drew a picture of it. I still have a picture of it that I drew back then. And I thought maybe it was like a space traveler. I mean, because we did have sightings around there. There was that big story about that couple in New Hampshire being abducted. So I thought it was something more space related. But now, since I'm older and I had my spiritual awakening, well, I believe what I saw was an angel now, because what I'm going to tell you about my spiritual awakening. So fast forward to me 3.5 years ago, and you know, I went through, so I was feeling a little down. I was going through, you know, all these changes in life. My kids were getting bigger. I was like, you know, really thinking about what is my life supposed to be like now. You know, less of being mom, and, you know, kind of time to focus a little more on myself. But I just got hit with this really deep depression, really sad, and lots of nostalgia, and just, you know, it was, if any of you have been, you know, sad, depressed, it sometimes, it just kind of come on and hit you hard. And, you know, where you just don't want to get out of bed. I was just like, oh, how sad. And so during that time, it was February of 2022. I remember I got up early, and it was still dark out, and I was sitting at the computer in my room, and next to my computer, where my desk is, there's a doorway. It goes into the bathroom, and the bathroom has a high ceiling, and it has one of those crescent windows at the top. And I was sitting at my desk, but the light from that crescent window was coming in, and I was like, oh. It was really bright, like caught my attention bright. And I'm like, what is that? And I thought, well, maybe it's a plane, because there is an airport not too far from our house. I thought, well, maybe it's a plane landing. And I see this bright light, and then I realize it's not moving. It's a star or a planet. I don't know. I'm just like, huh. And I could just see it shining through the window. So I got up, and I'm looking, and I actually took a picture of it. And the funny thing is, I just found the picture of it yesterday. I totally forgot I took the picture. I just, you take lots of pictures on your phone. It's like, how often do you like keep scrolling back through them? I took a picture of it, and it was just odd. It maybe it was a planet. I don't know. I never investigated it to see, but it was so bright, and I just remember feeling there was something about it. There was something important about that light, and like something had happened. I just felt like, this is spiritual. This is special. And so life goes on, so I had a picture of it, which I just found, like I said, yesterday. So that was February. That was February 8th, which I found out because when I found the picture yesterday, I had the date. It's going to be a little more to that. Hold on just a second. So the next month, March, the night before St. Patrick's Day, there was this awesome moonbow. Now, I have never seen a moonbow before, and it was just unbelievable. If you've ever seen one, I mean, it's a rainbow around the moon. It's like all the colors, and this was, I guess it was a really vivid one for people who had seen them before. I hadn't, my family hadn't, so we went outside. It was March 16th, the night before St. Patrick's Day, which is kind of cool because you're like, oh, rainbows, leprechaun, St. Patrick's Day, wow, so I'm like, this is really cool. And see this moonbow, and I was just like, wow. And I said a little prayer on it, and the prayer I said was, there were some changes I needed to make in my life. I was, going through a dark time. Like I said, I was depressed, I was sad. And I said a little prayer. Hear that? Little bird chirping outside. I don't know if you can hear it, but I have a strong connection with the birds anyway. It's kind of funny that it just did a loud chirp when I said that. I had said a prayer to get out of that funk. I was also drinking way too much, and I had said a prayer to, can I get out of this funk? Can I stop drinking? I just want to be a better person. Well, I don't know if it was the star the month before or if it was the time in between up until that moonbow, but the next day, St. Patrick's Day, normally I would drink, I would party on St. Patrick's Day, I'm Irish. Oh, it's a good excuse to just let go. Actually, any day for an Irish person is a good excuse to let go and have a little too much fun. But that's a whole other story for another time. Anyway, nothing against Irish people. I love Irish people. Lots of fun. My whole family, wild. But so the next day I felt different. I just knew something was different. And I had this calm, this peace, just this peaceful feeling, like, a stillness, a really overwhelming love feeling, like compassion. Now, I already was a loving, compassionate person, an empath for sure, always had been. I knew that, but this was different. This was on another level. It was like a calm and a peace, and I didn't want to drink at all. Like, didn't even enter my mind. And I was like, That's not really like, especially since I've been feeling really depressed. I was drinking way too much, and it was like didn't feel like it at all. And I'm thinking, well, it's just one day. Great, that's good. Hopefully that'd be nice if that would continue, and I'd keep this lovely, peaceful, happy feeling. That'd be great. But I wasn't counting on it. I'm like, oh, it's just a good day. That's great. No, it stayed. It stayed, and I was just like, wow. The days went by. I was like more and more like understanding, compassionate, just this overwhelming, loving feeling. Everyone noticed. They're like, you're a nice person, and you're sweet and all, but this calmness, this like no stress, like not getting excited, getting irritated, not wanting to drink at all, like what's going on? Well, something happened. Now, I don't know if the star or the whatever that light was that I saw, and the moon bow and the prayer, but come to find out, I started doing some research, and there's not a whole lot out there to find, but the research that I did do came across spiritual awakening. And spiritual awakening will sometimes be triggered by, very sad times, or, a death in the family, or something traumatic can sometimes bring them on. I don't know. I tend to believe that it was a combination, because the star shining in, and then the moon bow, it just feels like something happened altogether. But it was a spiritual awakening, and a lot of people, like I said, are going through them right now. And once it starts to happen, you can't live false anymore. Like, jobs, friends, family. It's like everything it just shifts, and you like see clearly. And if you're psychic at all, which I was already a little psychic, and like I said, an empath, that all that just starts to increase. So to keep this short for now, I'm going to have a part 2, because we need to go into this a little bit more. But I wanted to give you how it got started. And for the people who are questioning, am I having a spiritual awakening? It can come on different ways, but you'll know it. You'll feel different. You'll start to. The main thing that you'll really feel, that I felt, and a lot of people say they feel, it's just you can't be fake anymore. You can't. You can't keep going to a job that you don't like. You can't be in a relationship that's going nowhere or is draining you. People who drain you, it just gets real. And it's not something that just happens and then, oh, okay, it's over. No, spiritual awakening happens, and it continues to happen. It ebbs and flows, and things come and go. And, it's awesome. I'm so blessed. And for people who are going through it, and if you're going through a good part or a bad part, because there's different phases, we're going to talk about that. I'll be back. I have to go. I just realized how long I've been yabbering away. Sorry. It's like she finally makes a video about spiritual awakening. She won't stop talking. But I'll be back with more. But if you are going through one, and if you think you are, you probably are. Like if you're thinking, yeah, you probably are. It's great. It's awesome. And so many cool things will happen, and it's supposed to happen. You're supposed to wake up out of this. Out of this really crazy world we're living on the little ball. Remember, the little ball in space, and the other balls out there, endless space. Yeah, it's wild. Wild. So I will be back, and we'll talk about it some more, but it's a blessing. It's a good thing. Hang in there. We're going to be all right. Okay? So come back and see me, Angel by the Ocean, and I will have some more to talk about this. And love to you all. Blessings. We're going to be okay. Remember, your spirit first. We're just in this avatar, this body, but the spirit forever. Eternal. Okay, I love you. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.